Hey guys, this is Seamus Johnson of My Lawnmower Repair Guy. What I have here today, this is a 46-inch deck off of a Craftsman lawnmower. This right here is off of a T2400 lawnmower. I'm gonna show you what the problem is. I'm doing other work and everything to it too, so when I pulled the deck off and I seen this right here, this is very common for this style deck. The 46-inch cut Husqvarnas, the 46-inch cut Craftsmans, they're known for this weld right here breaking. This is really the only side that break. If you look down there, see right there, see that weld right there? For some reason, this weld right here always break. It always break. I've gotten them with a whole entire bracket that snapped off. So what we're gonna do, you're gonna get inside there. I'm gonna clean that paint off there. I'm gonna clean it all up, and I'm gonna show you how to weld it. A lot of times I'll get decks where there's a big hole right here in the center right here. You got to be very, very careful when you're welding these decks. You cannot put a whole lot of heat at a specific time or all at once on these decks. These decks right here will bend, they will twist, they will get out of whack. You'll start seeing lines in your yard. One side is cutting higher, one side is cutting lower. I've even seen it where the customer's taking the deck to another shop, a welding shop, an actual welding shop, and they really don't know. I'm not gonna say that they're not capable of, but they don't understand these decks right here. And they welded the deck, and guess what happens now? The blades are hitting. They twisted that deck so much to the blades are actually hitting each other. You gotta be very, very careful that you don't put too much heat on these decks at one time. Sometimes you gotta weld a little bit, let it cool. I've even had decks that are so thin that I couldn't even put a solid weld. I had to pop the whole deck in. So just be careful when you're welding these decks. Some decks are thicker, some decks are thinner. This right here is what you call a stamp deck. When you see a deck that's more rounded like this right here, this is called a stamp deck. They're thinner because they have to put them in a big machine, and a big machine has to actually stamp that deck down, so it can't be real thick, so they can actually form that deck. This is a form deck slash a stamp deck. That's what it's called. So we're gonna get into it. I'm finna grind this right here, paint off of here, and I'm gonna go ahead and weld this right here up for you. Also too, when you're grinding, you wanna probably have a face shield on or whatever. I don't too much wear face shields. I've done this so many times. I know what's happening, what's going on. But you wanna be very careful. You wanna be safe with it. You don't wanna hurt yourself. Alright, I got it all ground down, but also too, you want to get you a good area where you can put your ground cable to for your welding machine. What I'm gonna go ahead and do too is I'm gonna clean up an area where I can put my ground cable to for my welder. Right here up front should be pretty good. That's where my ground clamp for my welder is going to go, right there. So I'll get a good solid connection so I can get a very, very good weld. I got a Miller welder. This is a 252 welder right here. This is a very, very good machine. This is an excellent machine right here. I need to clean it up a little bit, but I'm going to hit probably about, say, 17 and a half amps. Wire speed's gonna be about 268. That should be pretty good right there. That's what we're gonna be welding it at. Make sure your gas is turned on. You don't want to weld without gas. It'll be very, very nasty. Alright guys, I'm gonna explain something to you. With this right here deck being as thin as it is right here, when you get ready to weld, you want to have mostly all your heat focused on this bracket right here. You don't want to put it on this on the actual deck. The actual weld itself, when you're welding, you want 70% of the weld on this bracket right here and 25% right here, because you don't want all that heat on that deck. It'll twist it, it'll bend it, it'll warp it. So just be careful when you're welding it. Well, put my gloves on, I got my welding shield on, we finna start welding. Also, too, what you want to do too, you want to put some tacks on the corner so that when you're welding it, it don't pull up on you. Good. All right, I'm gonna start welding that. See right there? That's how you weld it right there. That's how you want to weld it, just like that right there. Most of my heat was focused on this piece right here because it's a lot thicker, and about a 25% of my weld is actually on the deck itself. Therefore, when you're welding and that heat disperse, it doesn't get into an area where it's gonna make that deck twist. It ain't gonna make it warp, and it's the perfect heat range right there. Just be very, very careful when welding them. These decks are thin. They're not very, very thick. They will warp on you. They will distort on you. That heat has a tendency to travel to different areas, and it'll find that weakest spot, and it'll just sit there, and that deck will just shrink. It'll just pull up. It'll twist. It'll bend. Especially when it's heating and cooling, that metal moves. It moves around. It can throw that blade off a 1/16 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch, and then you put it back on there. You're cutting. You'll start seeing lines in your yard, or either worst case scenario, your blades are hitting. They're touching when they're spinning. So just be very, very careful. But that's how I welded this deck right here, and that's how it goes.